Hello, everyone, and welcome to Wanderlust Wednesdays. It's good to be back with you. My name is Lori Overton, and I'm the owner of Overton Travel. And I'm doing my second favorite thing. My first thing is to be traveling. My second thing is to be talking about travel. So thank you again for joining us for Wanderlust Wednesdays. This is the webinar series in which we take you on fantastic voyages around the world. And so I see you guys are joining. So I'm just going to give you one more minute to get in, so you don't miss not a single second of what we're about to talk about today. Because I am super super excited. If you can't tell, and no, it's not the caffeine. It's just love and life that got me so excited. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm Lori Overton, owner of Overton Travel. Many of you already know me. Many of you have already traveled with me, and then some of you are new. So I just wanted to introduce myself to you and just say I'm super excited to be here today with you. These webinars started back in 2020 during the pandemic. I started doing them every single week during the pandemic because we were on lockdown. And this was a way of traveling around the world virtually. You know, every week we would go somewhere as far as the Seychelles, I don't know, even Germany or even South Carolina. We went all over the world, Italy, Spain, Australia. Anyhow, I am so happy to say that we are no longer just dreaming. We are actually traveling. Folks, we outside. We outside now. Every single trip that's in this presentation, we are going on. They have already been planned, people have already booked, or if they're not planned already, I am working to get them out to you soon. So we're no longer in our dream phase, we're in our reality phase, and we are going. So just a few housekeeping notes. This is a webinar. You can see and you can hear me. I cannot see nor hear you. So the way that we are going to communicate is through the chat box and the Q&A box that's at the bottom of your screen or somewhere on your phone. Chat, you can say hi to each other or whatever. The Q&A box, if you have a question for me, please put it in the Q&A box and I will check it periodically throughout the presentation. So that's how I know you have a question. Don't raise your hand because I can't answer, I can't hear your questions. You raise your hand. So put your question in the Q&A box. But before we get started, just in the chat box, who on the webinar has already booked a trip with us for 23 or 24? Like, who's already booked a trip and where are you going? If anyone's already booked one, some of you booked multiple trips. So let me know who's on and where you're going. You could just drop that in the chat real quick. Ghana, I see Peru. All right. Yeah. And so anyone else going some other places? I see Portugal and Arizona. All right. Okay. All right. Like I said, folks are outside now. South Africa. Wow. So thank you so much for your support and for your continued support, because you are going places again and again and again. We have another one going to Arizona as well, Paris and Amsterdam. All right. So folks are traveling. So I'm going to get into this presentation because I know last time I went way over an hour. We may go over an hour this time. I'll try to get better. So I'm going to get started. I'm going to start sharing my screen and so we can get started in the presentation. So let's see. Okay, hopefully everyone can see my screen right now. And I'm just going to jump into the presentation, just tell you a little bit about us for the folks who are new to the call. Overton Travel, we are a Black woman-owned company, yours truly. I'm based in New York. We specialize in doing those bucket list trips around the world. Africa, Asia, Europe, Latin America, and also the bucket list trips here in the US as well. During COVID, we had to pivot because a lot of folks didn't want to travel abroad. And so I pivot and offered a lot of trips here in the US. And so we started doing trips in South Carolina, Cape Cod, the Civil Rights Tour, and they were all very well received. And now we have a trip in the U.S. that's out to the Grand Canyon into the Indian reservations as well, to the Navajo reservation. So great bucket list trips. All our trips are escorted. They're fully planned. All you really have to do is pay and play. That's what I say. Pay your money and then show up. I guide you through everything. We have a website with the itinerary listed, the hotels listed. We have payment plans for every single trip. So I try to make it as easy as possible for you guys. We do Zoom calls before every single trip to get you ready for the trip. And also we set up WhatsApp group before the trip, during the trip, and even these WhatsApp groups are still going 2, 3 years later because we have created this little community, a little family, and I'm very proud of this Overton Travel family that we have created. So I love doing what I do, and I just thank you for receiving what I have to offer you guys. Yeah. And like I said, I've already welcomed you. We got a lot of things going on. So, like I do for every presentation, I like to start off with a little bit of a video to kind of set the mood, um, get you acclimated to what we're going to talk about. So sit back, buckle up, and we're going to talk about what we did last year in 2023, and then what we have in store for you in 2024. So sit tight for a second, for about a minute or two.
And with that, the 2022 season comes to an end. Good night.
Are you ready?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oops. Are y'all ready? Okay, I hope y'all are ready to go. So we talked about a little bit of what we did. We showed what we did last year in 2022, which was a phenomenal year last year. 2023 is even better, and 2024 is gonna be out of the park. So I just want to thank you all, guys. Thank you for traveling with me. It's busy, it's busy, it's busy, it's busy, but it's a good busy. So I ask for a little grace right now as well, because there's so much going on. If you've been hearing the news at all, travel in 2023 has surpassed travel in 2019. So we got a lot going on. I even hired some more people on my team to help with some of the planning and some of the back end operations. A lot of things going behind the scene that you guys don't know about. And I bring it on a group of new ambassador, Overton Travel ambassadors as well. So you'll start meeting them this year and next year as they will start leading some of the trip, assisting me, because we have, I think in 23, we have about 18 trips or so we have going, 18 to 20. And in 24, there's even more. So it's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. All right. So let's talk about the trips in 2023 that we still have available, and that I hope you guys will come and finish and continue supporting. Portugal. So Portugal is still open right now. Portugal is the hot spot, but you guys, it was lukewarm with the Overton Travel clientele. For some reason, when I put this trip out there last year, I was like, all right, Portugal, this is going to be the trip. It's in the summertime. It's 1 week long. It's a great value. My Instagram is blowing up with people all over Portugal, Lisbon and Porto and Sintra. But it did okay with you. I think we have maybe 10 to 15 people going with Overton Travel. But if you still want to go, Portugal is open. I would join this trip. It has a lot of great things to offer. There's Portugal has a lot of really good colonial history. I can't say good is what, but a lot of colonial history because it goes way back. Um, they were one of the first colonizers of Africa as well. Portugal used to have a lot of, it was a wealthy, 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 wealthy country at one point. So there's a lot of history to be learned in Portugal, as well as beautiful sights. So let me tell you about some of the things we're doing in Portugal. We have a train trip while we're in Portugal for our train enthusiasts. This is a good highlight. We're going to visit, like I said, some of the Portugal's famous cities, Porto, Lisbon, Sintra. We have wine tasting. Y'all know I love wine tasting. Wine tasting. We have lunch in the Douro Valley. There's even a boat cruise. And then, thank you to my little friend who asked me about adding Paris to this trip. So at the end of the trip, we have an optional extension to Paris. Paris has been the hot spot this year. So after Portugal, you can add on Paris. And then we spend 3 nights in Paris and we have a Black Paris tour while we're in Paris. We also visit the Palace of Versailles. We do a city tour with the Eiffel Tower. So phenomenal trip. So it's going to be open probably for another week, or I think until the end of this week or so. Then I'll be closing out the Portugal trip because we got to kind of button it up and tighten it up. So if you're interested, don't sleep, run. All right, next trip, Ghana, 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 Ghana. I don't really need to say much about Ghana because Ghana is probably the hottest destination, maybe after Dubai, on the planet right now. This trip is sold out, but for those of you who still want to go, I brought this trip back in February of 2024. Ghana, if you ever have felt like you want to go to the motherland, go to Ghana. I do a lot of trip to Africa. I do South Africa, I do Egypt, Morocco, Senegal. I got a couple of new Africa trips for you. I love, 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 love going to Africa. All the places I visit have different feels to them. The feel that I get in Ghana is welcome home. Even if you aren't from Ghana, if you're from Nigeria or Senegal or wherever your roots come are from, you just Ghana makes it feel like you're from there. So it really is a cultural tour. Let me go through some of the highlights here. We go to the slave dungeons. Of course, you cannot go to Ghana without going to the slave dungeon. Panifest is every other year in the odd years. So we went in 2019, we went doing Panifest. This year in 2023, we're visiting Panifest as well. It's a big celebration where Ghana welcomes people from the diaspora back home, and it's an art celebration. So we get to do that this summer. We do an African naming ceremony. We shop, 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 shop. Can I say that again? People shop like they can't shop anymore in the market. The value is so good. I think I got some. Oh, I put my shea butter on this morning. I got shea butter and black soap to last me forever. But anyhow, go to the craft market. You get an African outfit made. I mean, there's so much to do in this Ghana trip. So it's a wonderful, wonderful trip. So you missed it for this July, but we have it in February. So I suggest you bring it. You sign up for the February trip. Here are some pictures from our Ghana trip over the last couple of years. Very beautiful, colorful, warm, welcoming trip. I cannot say enough about Ghana, but I can't say anymore because we got to cover some more trips here. I'm just going to check the chat and see what's going on. All right. So after Ghana this summer, what we got for you? I'm trying to get my screen to move. Okay, there you go. Bali. Oh my goodness. Bali, Bali, Bali. I say, although I have not been to Bali personally, something comes up every time I do a Bali trip. This is the third trip I've done to Bali, and I have not been able to go myself. So I'm a little disappointed in this because with the first trip I had to Bali, one of my regulars who traveled extensively with me, she called me up after the Bali trip and she said, Lori, If I don't go anywhere ever again, I'm good. She came back zen from Bali. She came back so relaxed, so renewed, and just feeling good. Now, needless to say, she's been on probably 2, 3 more trips since Bali, but that's how she came back from Bali, just feeling so just renewed. So it's a great place. The Bali trip is amazing. The dates are actually the first. This was the original date. They're the first through the 12th. We had to change the dates a couple months back, but anyhow, Bali trip is great. Um, it's now closed. Actually, I had 2 seats left, and somebody called me up on Saturday and took the last two. So this Bali trip is closed. I have no fears coming back again next year in June. And hopefully I'll get to go. But it's 4 nights in Ubud, which is up in the mountains, and then it's 4 nights in Nusa Dua, which is on the beach. We have beautiful, beautiful, wonderful accommodations in Bali. And for this trip, we also added on an optional extension to Singapore. So the group is going to Bali, and they're also going to Singapore for additional 3 or 4 days. Amazing trip. So I mentioned some of the highlights there. They go to sacred temples, they go through the rice terraces, they even have a Balinese cooking class. They relax on the beaches. And then most of them, I think, are actually, I think maybe 11 or 12 of them are actually going on to Singapore for an additional day. The Singapore airport, supposed to be, I mean, I know you rarely talk about airports, but the airport in Singapore is worth a trip in and of itself, just to go to the airport in Singapore. So very clean, very modern city. Great, 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 great trip. So it's coming back again in June of next year. And these are some pictures from Bali. You know, of course, Bali is just beautiful. Um, you see people on the Bali swing. You see the group just having great camaraderie. Look, even the lovers there. So it's great. Okay. Then we go to South Africa. Y'all know I love me some South Africa. Um, yeah, I don't have any children that I birthed, but I call my trip to like my kids, right? I love them all, but South Africa is my firstborn, y'all. South Africa is the firstborn. The very first trip I ever did as a group for my group was to South Africa. And so I'm like, oh Lord, you talking about going big, go big or go home. And like the first time I did something, I went all the way to South Africa. It was amazing. It has set the stage, set the tone for every trip to come. So I love, 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 love South Africa. And you guys love it too. I've taken, I don't know how many hundreds of people to South Africa. This trip right here, I call it my classic trip because it has not changed in 10 years. I took this trip, the first time I did the trip was in October 2012. That was my very first trip. And now is 2023, and this trip has not changed. Amazing trip. Wonderful. It's classic, a crowd pleaser. I love it. This year I have South Africa once as an Overton Travel trip. I have it a couple other times with some private trips. Next year I have 3 different South Africa trips for y'all. So hang with me. If you have not gone to South Africa, if you want to go to South Africa, if you've been to South Africa and want to go back, because all 3 of those South Africa trips that I have next year are different. I can take you to South Africa. I can take you to South Africa. I can pretty much say that. So here you go. Some of the highlights of this August trip. We go to Cape Town. We spend 4 nights in Cape Town. We spend 2 nights on a safari lodge. You actually spend 2 nights at the game reserve in your own private little chalet. So you're on a private game reserve on this trip. You go to the townships and you spend time with the local people. You get up close and personal. We even take you to church on Sunday morning, you all. You know what I mean? So I get you to Langer Baptist Church on this trip. You stay for the praise and worship service. You don't stay all day, but you at least go see church. We go to Robben Island when Nelson Mandela was in prison. We do wine tasting. There you go. We do the wine tasting in the Cape Winelands. And one of the good things I like about this particular wine tasting trip is there is only one winery that is totally Black owned. They own the land and they produce the wine. We take you there. And they give us an amazing lunch as well while we're there. And then we end this trip in Soweto. And you go on a tour of Soweto, the Apartheid Museum, the Mandela House, all the, the soccer field in Soweto. We actually get to go and see where people live. So it's a really comprehensive tour. So that's South Africa. And these are some pictures mainly from like the last two trips to South Africa. Great, 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 great trip. Morocco. I went to Morocco last year in September. Actually, I'm going to Morocco in about a week and a half now as well. I went to Morocco the first time in 2018. It was amazing. I went again. I took a group of 35 of us that went last year, September. Phenomenal. I loved it so much. Then I decided to do two trips to Morocco this year. So we're doing one trip to Morocco in May, and May 15th we're leaving. And then I added a second trip in September. This Morocco trip is a fully immersive trip. I like to think of it as a cross-country bus trip across Morocco. It's 2 weeks long, 12 nights, about 2 weeks long. And when you finish with the trip, you feel like I have done Morocco. We start in Casablanca, we go to Fez, we go to Chefchaouen, the Blue City, we go to Rabat, we end in Marrakesh. So some of the things we do in Morocco, we do camel ride in the desert. Not only do we do a camel ride in the desert, we spend the night in the desert. We spend the night in the Sahara Desert. I see a lot of Morocco trips, that people go on now. They may do some desert, but they don't do the Sahara. I'm just proud to say we do the Sahara. You're gonna go all that way, you might as well go to Sahara. And that's one of the reasons why the trip is so long, because it takes a while to get to the Sahara. So we do stops along the way. We stay in traditional accommodations, so it's a nice mix of some very high end accommodations. Morocco is good because your dollar goes far, or as my daddy would say, you can eat high off the hog in Morocco. So it's a great value trip. It has a nice mix of some, we stay at some Sofitels. We stay at some beautiful places up in the mountains that you just don't want to leave. And then we stay also in the desert, in the tents. And then we stay in some local riads where the wasn't necessarily fancy, but the breakfast that they made, that tastes like somebody's grandmama made it, tasted like local food. So it was really good. Just shopping in Morocco. These people bought out Morocco last year. They were so happy to see us last year when we went to Morocco. It was ridiculous. And then we just get immersed in the culture. Morocco's a great trip. I have this trip. This trip is available in September, and I'm also bringing it twice next year in May and in September again. So we're just working on getting the pricing for that. And I think these are some pictures of us in the desert last year. Cooking class. I mean, we do a little bit of everything. Cooking class. We do the camel ride. It's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot. Great, great trip. Peru. We are going to Peru in September. This is another bucket list trip. I know I sound like a broken record, but it really is. Machu Picchu. Come on. Machu Picchu should be on everyone's list. It's high up in the mountains of Peru. The Incas were bad, man. These Incas, they were ahead of the time with architecture, with astrology. I mean, they were just brilliant, brilliant people. So to go up to Machu Picchu and to see this masterpiece that they created is amazing. There were some issues in Machu Picchu I think a few months ago, but it's been settled. Now I know there was some concern about people going to Machu Picchu, but the coast is clear as we speak. Peru, I love the food. I love Peruvian food. I mean, if you've had Peruvian chicken, that little green sauce, is amazing. We go to Cuscus, we go to Lima, we go up to Machu Picchu. We take the train to Machu Picchu. So this is another trip for the train enthusiasts. And we have very unique accommodations. I don't think we have any like big chains in this particular trip. So very, very, very nice accommodations on this trip as well. So I would say if you're thinking about Peru, go. Also, another great value trip. That's why I love Latin America. Your money goes far in Latin America as well. So a great trip with a good value, and it's a wonderful trip. Also in September, the Paris, Amsterdam, and Bruges trip is sold out. Let me tell y'all, this this trip right here sold out like in 2 weeks. I've never seen a trip, and no trip I've ever done had just like boom. I mean, I sent out maybe one email about this trip, and it was gone. So you blink and it was gone. So this trip is sold out. It's amazing. It's a three country trip. We actually start in Amsterdam. We fly into Amsterdam, and we could fly out of at Paris. So we spend 3 nights in Amsterdam. While we're there, let me just do some of the. Oh, and so I also want to tell you, it's sold out, and the reason I'm talking about it because I'm working on bringing it back again in May or June. So if you missed out on it, it's coming back. So I wanted to have it ready for this presentation, but there's some big conference going on, and I think Amsterdam doing the dates that I wanted, so I have to play around with it a little bit. But anyhow, some of the highlights of this trip is for 3 European countries: Paris, the Netherlands, and then Belgium. We have the Black Paris tour. We do have a Black Amsterdam tour. Yes, there is Black Amsterdam tour as well. We do an Amsterdam food tour. We do an illuminated tour of Paris. So we go through Paris at night. Paris is called the City of Lights. And if you're going to go to Paris, you got to see it while it's lit up. We do the Palace of Versailles tour. You want to talk about opulence. You have not seen opulence until you've seen Versailles. We go to the quaint city of Bruges, Belgium. Bruges is such a pretty city. It's like a postcard city. So we spend a day in Bruges. And of course, when we go to Amsterdam, you got to take a canal tour in Amsterdam. So great tour, busy trip, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful trip. So if you have this in mind, it will be back next year. Probably, I'm looking at May, so either May or June, it will. Let's see. I'm going to stop a minute and answer some of the questions that I see here. So someone asking about the insects in Bali. I have not heard anything negative about insects at all. I mean, I've done 3 trips to Bali already, and my clients have not said anything about the insects. The only thing they may say something about the monkeys. When you go to the monkey forest, those monkeys can be feared. But the tour guides do tell you what to do. Like, don't bring any food, don't wear jewelry. If you listen to what the tour guides tell you in Bali, you should be fine. But have heard anything about the insects. Let me see another question. Dates for Morocco. Dates for Morocco are still pending. No, I think they're later on in the present, but the first Morocco trip is the end of May. So it's usually around the 15th, the 13th. It's the last 2 weeks of May, right before Memorial Day weekend. And then it'll be in September, like the last 2 weeks of September. So the last 2 weeks, right before Memorial Day weekend in May, and at the end of September for next year. They'll be coming out soon. Just need to finalize all of the pricing for next year. Okay. All right. I don't have any 2024 dates for Peru yet. So if you guys, one of the things I want you guys to do, probably towards the end of the presentation as well, let me know where you want to go if I don't have it, because there is some room for me to add some more trips to the mix. And if the demand is there, if you want to go there, I'll make the trip. So that's not a problem. I just got to make sure I have enough people to fill the trip. That's my only concern. Greece is coming back. I'm working on Greece for September next year. I've gone the last 3 years in June. 2019 I went in June. 2022 I went in June, and this year I'm going in June. So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. So I'm actually working on Greece for June of next year. I actually got a proposal yesterday for it, so I got to tweak it a little bit and stuff. And I just want to tell you one thing: inflation is real. So I try hard to keep the prices reasonable. I really, really do. But it's crazy. Demand is high and inflation is high. Combine that, so things are going up. I just want to address that. Yeah. So all right, let's move on. Let's move on. Thanks for the question, guys. Okay, so after Paris, let's see what we got. So also after Paris, in September, October, we are also going we have a trip here in the U.S. This trip is amazing. And I said it's not just because I spent a lot of time on it. Like this trip has I spent a lot of time planning this trip with my tour operator because there is nothing like this trip out there. Like we made this trip up. So you cannot go to any other tour company and find a trip like that. This trip is custom made. I wanted a unique trip and I wanted it to be in the US because I wanted to have one US offering at least this year. I had a couple other, to be honest with you, some of the US trips didn't sell as well as they were during the pandemic. During the pandemic, people were afraid to go abroad. And so my US trips were the one that were kind of like saving me, keeping me going, to be honest with you. This year, folks got their passport and they said later for that, we're ready to go. But this trip, I do think is definitely worthwhile staying home. Um, we are going to the Navajo Nation and we're going to visit the national parks. This is a beautiful trip and on so many levels. I'm just trying to do a time check here. So many levels. Beautiful in the landscape, the topography. We're going to Arizona. We're going to the Midwest. We're going to the Grand Canyon. You're going to Horseshoe Bend. You're going to Monument Valley. I mean, it's just amazing. And going in October when the weather is beautiful, it's cool, but it's not hot. Great time to go. Amazing. And also, we're going to go to the Navajo Nation. The hotels that we'll be staying on when we visit the Navajo Nation, we'll be staying on Navajo-owned property. So the property, our money will be going back to the Native Americans. I'm very proud of that. We'll eat some real local food, learn about the tradition. They're going to have dancers come to the hotel and do the Native American dancing with us. And it's a phenomenal trip. I really suggest you jump on this trip. I'm not sure. We'll see. I'm not sure if I'll bring this back or when I'll bring it back. At what point. But it's a unique trip. So some of the highlights, like I said, we're going to learn about the history and culture of the Navajo Native Americans. We're going to stay in Navajo owned property. We have authentic Native American cuisine. We'll do Grand Canyon. And for some of y'all who are worried about getting around, y'all know we taking care of you. We got Hummers taking you through the Grand Canyon. We'll be going through the South Bend portion of the Grand Canyon, which is supposed to have the best views. And also other national parks. We visit the Herb Museum. At the end of the trip, you do some little shopping in Scottsdale. So it's a great trip. It's only one part of the trip that has a lot of walking, but we have alternatives for you for that as well. But it's a good way to be outdoors and to see this beautiful country that we have here. So definitely, I would say please sign up for this trip. It is a bucket list trip and it's home here in the US. So great opportunity. And you cannot find a trip anywhere else. Okay. So moving on. Also, Dubai. Y'all are loving some Dubai. Oh my goodness. This is another trip that sold out pretty quickly as well. Dubai sold out. Lucky for y'all, since I know Dubai is literally the hottest place, I think, on the planet right now. Honestly. So this Dubai trip is sold out. So I brought a Dubai trip back in, I think we're going again in March. And then I brought a second one back in November of 2024. I like going to Dubai. The best times to go to Dubai are from like October to the end of March when it's not too hot. So I like going in early March, which is really good. That's when I went in 2022. I sold out my 2022 trip to Dubai. So my Dubai trip pretty much sell out. We went in March, and then we're going in November, and then we're going again in March. So great trip. If you're thinking about it, like in spades, you know what we say, think long, think wrong. If you're thinking about Dubai, just sign up. My deposit's only $300, so put your deposit down. It'll hold your spot, and then you can start saving on paying on them early. But the November trip is sold out. I think I capped it at like 40. So that's why I opened up the March trips, and we'll get to those soon. Highlights of Dubai, you just say Dubai, and that's usually enough. We go to the top of the Burj Khalifa, which is currently the tallest building in the world. And I say currently because when I was there in 2018, 2019, they were building another tall building, and they wouldn't even tell us how tall it was going to be because they don't want to outdo each other. They don't want anyone to outdo them. So I think there's going to be another building that's taller than the Burj Khalifa pretty soon. We go dune bashing in the 4x4 Jeep. Amazing. We do a desert safari. We do a dinner cruise on the Dubai Marina and a traditional Dow dinner boat. We also go to Abu Dhabi, which is gorgeous. The mosque in Abu Dhabi is great. We also do a tour of Abu Dhabi. So we spend the day in Abu Dhabi as well. This Dubai tour is great. It's a luxury tour. Beautiful hotel, beautiful scenery. We stay at the Hyatt Hotel, which is right in the Business Bay district, and we have views of the Burj Khalifa. So it's a great trip. Love it. Dubai is always a crowd pleaser. These are some pictures of the trip that we took to Dubai last year. Yeah, this is the 2022 trip. We had a great time. Thailand. I love Thailand. Um, Thailand is a great trip. This trip to Thailand is going to be a really, really good one. We are going to hit, all of them are good. The last trip I did to Thailand, we did just Bangkok and Phuket. This trip, since I know some people like to do a lot, we're doing Bangkok, Chiang Mai, and Phuket. So we're hitting three of the major areas in Thailand on this trip. Bangkok is bustling. It's a city. It has a lot going on. Chiang Mai up north, beautiful city up north. It used to be the capital of Thailand before Bangkok. And so Chiang Mai is gorgeous, beautiful temples. We also go, we see some of the local people while we're in Chiang Mai as well. And then we come back south to Phuket, and we spend 4 nights at the beach. So it's just an amazing trip. So like I said, we go to the Grand Palace, we go to Wat Pho, it's a major, we go see the reclining Buddha, that's what that's known for. We go to the floating market, we go to the Golden Triangle. When we go up to Chiang Mai, we visit the Golden Triangle in that area. We have authentic Thai dinner with the local family. I love Thai food. Thai food is awesome. I mean, after soul food, Thai food is probably like my second favorite. Well, I said that. What else? I went somewhere. Oh, Filipino. Oh, I just went to the Philippines, y'all. Oh Lord, the Filipino food was delicious. But anyhow, anyway, then we go to the White Temple in Chiang Rai. So we do a little bit of Chiang Mai, Chiang Rai, and then, like I said, we end at the beautiful beaches of Phuket. Y'all don't sleep on Thailand. This is in December. We only have a couple people booked so far for it. So let me know y'all interested. Go sign up for Thailand. It's great. And going in November, December is really great time. It's after the rainy season hit and the weather is warm and you can actually spend some time on the beaches. So great trip. So Thailand's the last trip of 2023. So here's some pictures of our last trip to Thailand. And so before I get into 2024, let me check the Q&As and see what's here. Some of the questions that we have is, how soon in advance do you have to get vaccinated before going abroad? It really depends on the vaccination. Most vaccination, minimum, I would say 2 weeks minimum, because you want to get vaccinated so that if you have any side effects to the vaccine, you want to have it in your system. So if you do have side effects, that you can recover before you go. But if you know you're going to be traveling, just go ahead and get your vaccination. I always have to give the caveats. Please speak to your healthcare provider about your vaccine, on which ones you can take, you cannot take, because I've had certain people say, "Oh, Lori, my doctor said I can't take this, or you can't take that." Like, for instance, we need yellow fever for Ghana, and I always tell people to go to get yellow fever because you need it to get your visa. But there's been some doctors who have given some clients a waiver for not taking the yellow fever vaccine. So yeah, always speak to your healthcare provider about that. But I would say my rule of thumb that I've been given was 2 weeks to allow yourself to get over any side effects. All right. And then someone said, do I have any Christmas, New Year's international trip? I do not. I tend not to plan trips around the holidays. just because it's so crazy. If you notice, I don't have any trips around any major holidays at all. Um, but if you want them, I will bring them. Particularly Christmas and New Year's is so expensive. The prices go up. But if you are willing, if you want to do that, I will bring it to you. And just know that you're paying a premium. And then also it stresses me out sometimes just making sure that the flight, there's no major issues around flight. But if there's a demand, um, I've thought about maybe doing a Christmas markets in Europe at one point. I know Ghana is really big over Christmas, December and New Year's, and also I know cruising is really big over the holidays as well. So if there's a demand for it, let me know. So thanks, Sheila, for that question. And then Diane has a question about Cuba. Ah, You are reading my mind, so sit tight as we go to the 2024 trips. So going in 2024, and let's see what we have to offer here. There you go, Cuba. That question, somebody says, any plan for Cuba? We are going to Cuba, y'all. We're going to Cuba in January. Cuba is amazing. I took a group to Cuba, I think back in 2017 or 2018 when it first opened. And it was amazing. The Cuban people loved us. I mean, that was when Obama was still in office, so they would see my group coming and say, Obama, Obama. So it's a great trip. I love this trip. We're going for a week, and we're going to spend 5 days in Havana and then 2 days in Varadero on the beach. So while we're in Havana, the focus of I can't say the focus, but the flavors of the trip is like an Afro-Cuban heritage tour. You guys know me. If I can throw in some Black history in a trip, I will. I'll try to do it. So we're going to learn about the Afro-Cuban culture. So we're going to have a couple lectures on Afro-Cuban culture. We're going to take a tour of a cure of the African influences in Havana as well. Of course, you're going to ride in the classic cars. You go to Cuba, you got to get in those old classic cars and ride around the I forgot what they call the that little boardwalk area there. It'll come to me later. You're gonna have some cigar and some rum tasting as well. You're gonna get immersed in the Cuban art scene because we're gonna actually go to some artists' studios and actually get a chance to meet some of the artists and talk to them about their artwork. We're gonna have a salsa class. We're gonna get some rumba lessons. So y'all bring our dancing shoes. We gonna do some dancing in Cuba. We have a Cuban cooking lesson. We're gonna learn how to make some of the good Cuban food. And then after I have y'all running around Havana for 5 whole days, I'm gonna let you relax in Varadero. Cuba has some beautiful white sand beaches. Since we had an embargo on Americans don't really know much about the beaches in Cuba, but them Canadians been going to Cuba for a while. The Canadians and the Europeans have been loving Cuba. So we are going to Cuba in January. And so come on, the trip has been out there for a while. So go sign up about the trips. If you have just a little side note, if you have questions, you want more information about any of the trips that we're going over, they are all on overtontravel.com. I'll say that again, overtontravel.com. All of the trips are listed there. The itinerary is there. I do not put out any trip without having a daily itinerary that's listed. So if you want to know what we're doing day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, day 5, is there on the website. So all the hotels that we're staying is there on the website. So you can go and see all the details of every trip that I've talked about so far. So if you missed something, just go to the website and all the information will be there. Okay. So I saw a couple more questions come in. And let's see. All right. So I think I'm up to date on the questions in the chat right now. All right. Let me move along. So that's Cuba. Another trip for 2024. India with an optional extension to Nepal. India is on my personal bucket list. I want to see the Taj Mahal. Oh my God. So this is an amazing trip to India. We will go to the Golden Triangle. I think we start in Delhi and then we visit many of the other we go to see the Pink Building, we go to the Taj Mahal. Let me talk about some of the highlights here. We go to Delhi, Agra, and Jaipur. That's the Golden Triangle. We do the sunrise visit to the Taj Mahal. We go to Varanasi, if I'm saying that right. It's the Sacred Heart of the Hindu India. We do rides through the cities in a rickshaw. We go to high tea with a local family. We even do a safari and see tigers, and then hopefully you see tigers in the national park. And then you have an optional extension to Nepal. This trip is fabulous, y'all. I was personally planning on going on it, but this trip has gotten a lukewarm, almost cold reception. So I don't know if y'all want to go to India as much as I do. If you want to go to India, let me at least drop a note here, send me an email because India is on life support right now. This trip is on the verge of maybe not happening just because there's just been very little interest in this trip, which I was surprised. I was surprised about it. Great trip on my personal list of places to go. So please, please, please drop me a note. Let me know, hey, Lori, I want to go to India. I'm interested in the trip because if I don't see more bookings in the next week or so. I think I head out for Morocco and on the 15th or so. I would say even the next week, I'll probably move this trip to another year or try to replace it with something else that I think folks are interested in. So just let me know if we need to save this India trip or say, hey, bring it back some other time. But it's great. Okay. I mentioned this earlier. We're bringing back Ghana. Ghana, we're doing it in July. It's coming back in February. I don't think I need to say more about Ghana. Ghana is the motherland. And so some of the same highlights as before. I was able, when I first launched this trip, it was a couple $100 higher. I scored a really good deal on flights for this trip. So I was actually able to bring it down. So I sent an email to the people that are already booked and said, hey, I reduced the price. I said, what? Reduced? So this is great. I actually got direct flights going and coming on Delta for the trip. So I was so happy I scored really well on this trip. So sign up for Ghana if you want to go. Great, 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 great way to visit the motherland. And once again, these are the same pictures from Ghana. Let me go back. I think I went ahead. Dubai, like I mentioned, Dubai is back in March 2nd through March 9th of next year. And all the Dubai trips are exactly the same itinerary, just different dates. So if you want to go, people have already started signing up for Dubai already. So this trip is filling up. Like I said, Dubai is like the hottest place on the planet right now. Literally and figuratively, it's hot. That's the Dubai trip. And those pictures from Dubai. And then, so y'all are hearing this first on this trip, on this webinar. I have a trip to South Africa in March. Y'all know I love me some South Africa, right? This trip right here, this trip is awesome. We call it a Miracles Tour, just because we focus on the miracles of South Africa. We talk about the human miracles of South Africa that fought against the apartheid movement. So you learn about not just Mandela, learn about Mandela, Tutu, but we also learn about Steve Biko as well and some other leaders of the anti-apartheid movement. You know, Mandela is almost like a Martin Luther King, Dr. King here, where you hear a lot about Mandela and anti-apartheid, but there are a lot of people that were in anti-apartheid as well. Like you hear a lot about Martin Luther King, but there are also a lot of other people that were in the civil rights movement besides King. So I'm happy to bring you another aspect to the anti-apartheid movement. So we learn about other people, and this trip goes to the Eastern Cape of South Africa. So the trip that we do in August, where Cape Town is considered the Western Cape. So if you think about South Africa at the tip, Cape Town is on the West Coast, kind of like San Francisco, kind of like California. And this trip that we're taking in March is on the East Coast, kind of like going to New York, if that helps at all. The Eastern Cape is gorgeous. You'll see the Indian Ocean. So a lot of you have seen the Atlantic, of course. You've seen the Pacific. Now you go to the Indian Ocean. This trip is made for a maximum of 15 people. It's a small group trip just because we stay in boutique accommodation. They're small accommodation. So they can't support, 20, 30, 40 people like some of the other trips I have. So it's a boutique trip. Just unique. The accommodations are beautiful. This has one of my favorite hotels on all of my trips here as well. We do a lot of cultural activity. So we go visit the Kosa people. We go to Kosa village and we meet the women there, and they tell us about the rites of passage that the women and the girls go through. We also we talk about the legacies of South Africa's anti-apartheid activists. We go to Johannesburg as well. And while in Johannesburg, we visit the Apartheid Museum there. So the one common thread between all of my South Africa trips is that you do visit Johannesburg. And so while in Johannesburg, you will go to Soweto, the Soweto tour. You will go to the Apartheid Museum as well. Um, and you will eat great, 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 great food also. So I really love this trip in March just because it's a little unique. It's made for small groups. We have more high-end, I can't say high-end, but more boutique, smaller accommodations and guest houses. So it's a really, really, really special trip. And I like that it goes to the Eastern Cape, and you do not see many tours go to the Eastern Cape. So I would say like the road less travel, and it's gorgeous, gorgeous trip to the Eastern Cape. So this trip will be coming out this week. I think I'm gonna drop maybe Friday. We're working on dropping this trip. So sign up soon because I think it's only like 15 slots open for this trip. It's just wonderful, wonderful trip. Even if you've been to South Africa before, you can do this trip again. You can do this trip because it focuses mainly on a different part of South Africa. Also, I know we're almost short on time. It goes on one of my favorite safaris as well. We visit Addo National Park. It used to be called Addo Elephant Park because it has so many elephants in there. I have never seen such a concentration of elephants on any of the safaris I've been on. It is amazing to go to Addo and just to see just hundreds of elephants. I'm not even exaggerating. So great, great trip. And oh, one more thing I learned, Addo is expanding. So Addo is going to be, once they finish their expansion, the only safari park that you can see the big seven. Most safari parks may see the big five, but there's big seven. So I'll tell you about that on the trip. So anyhow, these are some pictures of my other South Africa trips. So I'm going to move. We're almost at the end. Also for 2024, we have Brazil and Argentina. I've done Brazil and Argentina, I think, twice before. Always a crowd pleaser. Great, great, great trip. Um, Gorgeous. I mean, this picture of the Corcovado or the Christ statue is it's amazing. It's wonderful. So the trip we're actually going to start in Argentina and then end in Brazil. So we're going to go to Argentina. We're going to fly into Buenos Aires. We're going to fly into Buenos Aires, and we'll spend, I think, 3 nights in Buenos Aires, 2 or 3 nights in Buenos Aires. And of course, while there, we'll do the city tour of Buenos Aires. We're going to go to have some flamenco dancing lessons. You're going to learn to dance, not flamenco, the tango. I'm getting my dances mixed up. We're going to go to a tango show and have a tango lesson while you're there. Then also, you may or may not know, Argentina is known for beef. They're known for cattle. They eat a lot of meat in Argentina. So we will actually go to a ranch and we'll watch the Cowboys do their thing in Argentina. So that's a great day of being outside. So after Argentina, we then go to the Iguazu Falls. Iguazu Falls are gorgeous, beautiful falls. And just like that, Niagara Falls here in the US, there's one side is in Argentina, one side is in Brazil. So we will see the first day we'll see the Argentinian side of the fall. The next day we'll go and we'll see the Brazilian side of the fall. So we'll go to Argentina, then we'll go to we fly to the Iguazu Falls, spend 2 nights in the Iguazu Falls, and then we fly to Rio and we spend, I think, 4 nights in Rio. Great trip. So, and then of course, while in Rio, we go to the Sugarloaf Mountain, the Corcovado Mountain. We'll go to the place where they make the costumes for the dancers for Carnival. Oh gosh, so much planned. I can't even remember. Oh, we do, of course, if you're going to go to Brazil, we're going to do an Afro-Brazilian tour in Rio as well. So let me see. Did I miss any to highlight? Ascend to the top of the Corcovado Mountain to see the Christ Redeemer statue. You're going to do the Gospel Falls. You're going to go to African Heritage Tour of Rio de Janeiro. Um, you're going to go to Sugarloaf Mountain and dinner and tango show with private tango lessons in Buenos Aires. Some of the highlights. This price is wrong here, actually. I think it should be, I think this price is wrong here. So go see on the website and see, I think it's 53, not 43. So check that out. So sorry about that. So that's Brazil. Then Egypt. Y'all been asking me about Egypt for a minute now. We went to Egypt. It's in November 2022. Had a great time. No, this is probably my fourth Egypt trip I've done. Egypt has always been a good trip for us. Egypt is great. I mean, most people want to go see the pyramids. Egypt, every time I go to Egypt, I've done the trip twice. It's like going to school. I learned a lot in school. We did a lot of history, but I didn't learn a lot of Egyptian history. And so when I go on this trip, I always just learn so much. The Egyptians were amazing. They were so far advanced. All the knowledge that they have is mind blowing. Really is. So this trip to Egypt is great. Let me give you some of the highlights here. I know we're running out of time, but we're almost done. If you hang on with me for maybe 10 more minutes, I should be finished. Some of the highlights, of course, you're going to go see the pyramids and the Sphinx. We spend 4 nights in Cairo. So the way that this trip works, we fly into Cairo. We spend 2 nights in Cairo. Then we fly to Luxor. We take a 4-night cruise down the Nile. That is really nice. And then after the 4-night cruise, then we come back and spend the last 2 nights in Cairo. So bookend in Cairo and then a 4-night cruise on the Nile. So during the Nile cruise, you'll go see the Valley of the Kings, which is that's actually my favorite part. One of my favorite parts is the Valley of the King. You go see the statues of Ramses at the entrance to Luxor. You go to the Temple of Philae, dedicated to the god Isis. Amazing. You go to the Egyptian Museum, which is just mind-boggling. And then, also what I've done to this trip that we haven't done, the previous trip, I added an extra day to go see Alexandria. I know folks that say, "Oh, a lot of trips. Have you gone to Alexandria? Have you gone to Alexandria?" And I didn't have Alexandria. So we are going to see Alexandria because it has one of the, I think one of the oldest libraries. It was one of the oldest libraries in, I think, in antiquity. So this Egypt trip is amazing. It is a fast-paced trip. We cover a lot of ground in Egypt. Okay, and these are some pictures from our trip last year. Yeah, this was last year trip to Egypt, the pyramids, the valley. This is Valley of the King. That's from maybe 3 trips ago. The Sphinx. Great, great, great trip to Egypt. Bali. This is Bali. I won't go into this too much more, but we do have Bali June 4th through the 15th. I didn't add Singapore to this trip. Let me know if you're interested in going to Singapore. I mean, I can add it as a group, and then I can do it on an individual basis. I've done it both ways before, where I've had like maybe just 4 people go on their own. But this time I had enough interest, so I have it as a group. So we talked about Bali as well. That's Bali. South Africa. South Africa for next year is out. The August trip, so I won't talk too much about that. August 14th to the 24th. This is my firstborn right here, y'all. This trip hasn't changed in 10 years. That's South Africa. These are pictures of the South Africa trip. And let's see. This is a new one. This is a new one, y'all. You heard it here first. This trip will probably be dropping this week as well. So this is the second new trip that hasn't been released yet. This right here is a trip of a lifetime. The trip of a lifetime. This is Kenya, Tanzania, and Zanzibar all in one trip. I'm going. So I hope y'all sign up because I want to go. This has been on my personal bucket list to get to Kenya, Tanzania, and Zanzibar. I've been on lots and lots of safaris, probably more safaris than I can count. But people always say, of course, East Africans are, that they're probably unbiased towards East Africa. But I've heard that you haven't really gone on safari until you've done an East African safari. And on this trip, we taking y'all to the Serengeti. It's going to be awesome. Going to be awesome. Kenya. So we fly into Nairobi. We spend 2 nights in Kenya, 1 or 2 nights in Kenya. While in Nairobi, we are going to go to the Giraffe Center, and you get to see to feed the giraffe, get up close and personal with giraffe. Any of you guys on Instagram, y'all have seen people in Kenya at the Giraffe Center feeding the giraffe. Yes, you too can do that. We'll also go to Carnivore's restaurant, which is renowned for having some great, great, great meat. That's why it's called Carnivore. But for some of you who are vegetarian or vegan, we got something for you as well. But for the meat eaters there, it's going to be great. This is a 2 week, almost 2 weeks long. It's the 14th to the 26th. And let me just tell y'all a little bit about it. And what I like about this trip a lot is that I've been eyeing doing this trip for a few years now and never quite was able to get the right mix of safari and culture. Yeah, I love safari. A lot of y'all like safari, but you can get safaried out. I don't want to be on a safari every single day of the trip. I'm sorry, So I wanted to get a good mix of culture. I want to see animals, but I want to see people too. And this trip delivers that good mix of nature and and culture with people. So of course we're gonna go to Kenya. You're gonna go to Tanzania. We're gonna do the Serengeti. We're going to do other parts of the safari as well. We're going to go to the Ngorongoro Cradle, which is amazing, which was once a big volcano that imploded. So we go to the depths of the Ngorongoro Crater. We're going to visit with the Maasai tribe and learn about their culture. Y'all know the Maasai. These are the people that were in this picture here, and they're tall and they're thin and they jump. So we go spend a day with the Maasai tribe, and we go to their markets and we support their community. Like I mentioned, we go to the Giraffe Center in Nairobi, go to Ngorongoro Crater, and then after I have y'all running around Tanzania and Kenya, we head over to the Spice Island of Zanzibar. Supposed to be one of the most beautiful islands on earth. So we go to the Spice Island of Zanzibar. We do a little bit of running around because you got to see Stone Town, but then you get to relax on the beaches of Zanzibar as well. Love, 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 love this trip. Some of the places that you'll stay at are going to be great, unique safari places, unique hotels, and beautiful 5-star lodges, 4 and 5 star lodges. This trip is go big or go home. If you're going to do it, do it. This trip is $73.99, including it's basically all included. Your meals are you pretty much most of your meals are included. Most of the meals are included. Your airfare is included, and this is really a trip of a lifetime. So I've been wanting to do the trip for a while, and it's going to be delivered. It's going to be in October of next year, middle of October. I think the dates are October 14th through the 26th. So I put it out there early because I know it's a big ticket item. It really is. So I don't believe me. It's a big ticket item. It's an expensive trip. So I wanted to get it out there early. So you guys, for those of you who like to pay over time, you can start come Friday. This trip will be out there. You can start this trip right away. All right. So let me go back and see if there are any more questions out there. Okay. So there was some question about any interest in a Mediterranean cruise. I was thinking of doing a cruise this summer, but I wasn't sure it's what the interest is. I am planning. I have another cruise that I'm thinking of doing in the summer, and I'll let you guys know about that. But I thought about the Mediterranean cruise, so we'll see. COVID issues in India. My understanding that COVID started creeping back up in India, but people weren't necessarily like most of us are vaccinated now. So although COVID was creeping up, I think people were catching COVID, but not necessarily dying of it like they were back previously. Same way here. Like I know a lot of people have gotten COVID, but not have been really sick. So, but you can look it up and see how it is now. But that was the understanding that I had that, they were catching it, but recovering from it and not necessarily dying from it like they did. So someone asked me, how many people are you taking to your group in Ghana? The group this year, that in July, is 27 of us going, and I would have taken more, but I couldn't get any more rooms. I only had I could only get 15 rooms at each of the hotels. And so that's why I was limited to 27, because some people have single rooms. So yeah. In February I can take more. I can take more. But I'll probably limit to like 30 or so. The problem with Ghana is that people get lost. You we stop and go shopping in the market and say come back in an hour, come back whatever at 3 o'clock. Y'all still bargaining in the market. So probably for the February trip I can limit it to like 25, 30. 30 is probably what I'll do for Ghana. Let me see. So someone asked if there's another Paris. Yeah, yes, the Paris, Netherlands, and Belgium trip. I'm working on that right now. I have planned on doing that in the first week of May. That's what I had planned. But when we started working on it, there was some big conference going on in Amsterdam that same week. So we couldn't find any hotel room during that time. So I'm playing around with the dates on that trip. So it'll either be maybe the second week of May, or I may just, if it's too hard for May, I may just switch it over to June. So, so that is definitely in the works right now. It's just finding hotel room. Um, any interest in Japan? I love Japan, and I started looking at it for this year, but it just didn't fit in my calendar. So Japan will probably come back and probably come into the rotation in 2025. So something that just couldn't get all in 2024 or 2023, so it'll come back. Japan will probably be in the list in 2025. And Japan was really late to open after COVID as well. But yeah, Japan is amazing. So do look for that probably in another year or two coming out. Okay. All right. I have a couple more things to talk about. Let me see. I think we're almost, so we talked about Dubai. That's also the end of November. So we added that. That's Dubai. And then let me tell you about the trips that are coming soon, because that'll probably answer some of the questions that folks are having. So this is what I have on my radar right now for next year, that I'm working on and just haven't been able to put out yet. So Paris and Amsterdam, working on that for May. Hope to have that out as soon as I get the hotel confirmed. Morocco, tour one is in May. That's usually the last 2 weeks of May, right? Ending the Saturday before Memorial Day. Italy, I'm working on that for June. So if I have to switch my Paris trip to June, I may switch Italy to May. So Italy and Paris or the summertime. Some folks have been asking me for a while for Central Europe. So Vienna, Budapest, and Prague. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Working on it right now. I want to do that in the summer. So Europe is going to be big next summer. Cruising. I had an Alaska cruise scheduled in 2020, but then we know what happened. 2020 happened. So I had to cancel that. So I was planning on doing an Alaska cruise. So let me know if you're interested in an Alaska cruise, or somebody asked me about a Mediterranean cruise as well. I'm okay to bring cruising back into the rotation. Just let me know where you want to go. If Alaska is hot, I'll do Alaska. If the Mediterranean is hot, I'll do the Mediterranean. So kind of let me know, because this is kind of just coming out of my head right now. I'm making this stuff up and hoping that what I'm putting out, you guys want to pick up. Okay. So anyhow, Israel. I was working on Israel this morning. I've gotten a lot of requests for Israel. And so I think it's probably going to be November. I'll start looking at that just this morning, start doing the planning of Israel. And I'm on the fence about adding Jordan. So if you want to go to Israel, let me know if you want to head over to Jordan as well. Like, you're right there, right? So in Jordan, I was going to add in Petra and Amman, maybe Wadi Rum. Not quite sure if there's an interest in Jordan as well, but definitely Israel is on the list. And then let me tell you what else I'm doing. And so I leave for Morocco on the 15th. So I got a lot of work to get done before we leave. So anyhow, that's why we're pumping out these trips like crazy. There's one more here. Let me tell you, Greece. I'm working on Greece for September, mid-September. next year, just to change it around. Morocco number 2 is in September as well. I have my South Africa number 3 is in November. That's November 1st through the 15th. I'm working on a third trip to South Africa next year. This is different than the other two. This trip right here goes along the Panorama route, which is amazing, gorgeous. You go to Bergkluk Pothole. You see this place, they call it God's Window. It's so beautiful. It's so beautiful. So this is another trip to South Africa that's slightly different than it has some components that are the same. Cape Town piece is the same, but some components that are different. Oh, the major difference, this one includes Victoria Falls. So we're having Victoria Falls as part of that South Africa trip. That's the one in November. November 1st to the 15th is the dates I'm looking at now. Iceland, Iceland is supposed to be in November. The group that went to Iceland last year fell in love with Iceland. They said Iceland was phenomenal. And so they love that group. To be honest with you, I already started planning this Iceland trip, but it came back so expensive. I don't know. I had to send it back to them. So y'all, come on. It was crazy. Iceland is also another hot spot. So just a FYI, I mean, inflation is real. So I'm trying to keep these trips reasonable, but sometimes it is what it is. So Iceland, I'm planning again for November. They loved it. And December, I don't know. I don't have a trip for December yet. So let me know. I don't know. I'm at a loss for December. I don't know. St. Lucia, Columbia, I just don't have a plan for December yet. So this is an opportunity to let me know what you're thinking of. And that's all for the trips. I'm sorry, I went over. It's 15 minutes past right now, but let me go check out some of the questions in the chat. Somebody interested in any cruise. Tulip time. Tulip time in Amsterdam runs until like the end of April, early May. That's why I really wanted that first weekend of May. And that's probably why the big convention. If I can't get that second week of May, then I'm just gonna move it to June. Because the main reason I wanted May was to kind of catch the tulips. Okay, so let me see where I left off. So somebody said the bucket list is Northern Lights. Yep. Thank you for letting me know. Sorry, my phone was ringing. Okay. You have decisions done between South Africa and East. All right. I'm sorry, but no sorry. About giving you some great things to choose from. Japan. So somebody asked me, was I still thinking about California? So I think I answered that question. So to be honest with you, so St. Lucia, yes, I'm thinking about that. California, I don't know. Just because, to be honest, in 2023 and a lot of 2024 trips, most people were looking to go abroad. So that's the sense I got this year. I had more people booking all the trips to like go to Europe and Africa and Asia than the US. So I would love to do a California coast trip, but you guys got to let me know you're interested in it. So maybe I'll put out a survey or something to see who's interested in one trip, because it takes a lot of time to put these trips together. It really does. So if I'm spending time putting a trip together, I want to make sure that you actually want it. So I'll see about the California trip. All right, so y'all are asking for some US tours. Okay. Keep going to California. So no, I don't have California planned for 2024 yet. No, I was planning on doing it, but then got kind of gun shy when the US trips weren't being booked as much as the international one. Last cruise, yes, great. I didn't bring Martha's Vineyard back. I could, not for 23 definitely, but 24, I'll ask if there's interest. And I see a yes for St. Lucia. So you know what? After this, over the next couple of weeks, I'll send out a little survey or something where I can get you guys feedback. All right, now let me go. Those were the chat. Let me go to the Q&A. Oh wait, one more just popped up. Let me go to the Q&A and see if I missed anything there. Oh, okay, California. All right, so now I'm just going to finish up with some promotion. right here, and you guys can still ask questions, but I'm just going to show you, like, these are some of the things I can show you better than I can tell you. These are what other people are saying about the Overton travel trips, how they're amazing, they're wonderful, and I agree with them 100% on the wonderful trips. I've been blessed with having great group of people to travel with me over the last 10 years. And I always say the trips themselves are wonderful, but what really, really makes the trip for me are the people. It's just, I've been blessed with good people. And most of the people that travel with me come through word of mouth. And that's great, because you know what they say, birds of a feather, right? So I've always had great like-minded people on the trips. So I'm just going to now show you a couple testimonials. You may have seen these before if you were on um, the last presentation. I'm just going to show them again if I can get it to come up. Let's see. Right, here's a testimonial that we got for some folks. You know who the first one is. Sorry.
Hello. I want all of you to know that I'm traveling here today with Lori Overton with Overton Travel. And let me tell you, we are on the Moroccan tour. This is my second or third trip with Lori and Overton Travel. She is amazing. Everything from the itinerary. We move, we are allowed to see several parts of the country. We keep it moving. We have time to see and explore and participate in all these wonderful tours to learn the culture, eat the beautiful food, engage with the people, shop, all the things that we want to do when we travel. We stay at beautiful hotels, but the way we are at our hotel now to wrap up our trip for these final 3 days, this is the way to travel. Morocco, Lori Overton does it amazingly well with Overton Travel, and I would do it no other way. I am Dawn Marie, and I am so happy to be a member of Lori Overton's Travel with Overton Travel. Thank you for having me. Lori, you are the best. Love you. Hearts.
All right, that was Dawn Marie, and I have one more, and I did not coach her. Okay, let me hold on. And then we have one more that I'm going to. I had the luxury of the on the Morocco trip to have a photographer with us, so that's how we got some good videos.
Good morning, all from the Sahara Desert, where we can see the coastline of Algeria. This is my first international trip with Lori Overton. I've done the Gullah tour and I've done the Civil Rights tour. Her trips are absolutely amazing. You get all the history, you get time to shop, you get time to bond with powerful men and women who are doing wonderful things throughout the United States, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful experience. If you ever get the opportunity, you should travel with Lori Overton and Overton Travels. I know I will be doing it again.
Hey, thank you. I like to thank Tina for that great um, recommendation as well. All right, so we are at the end of the presentation. Here is the contact information, and I just want to let you guys know that I have some new email information. I have info@overtontravel.com. It's better if you email me there. A lot of you email me at Lori at Overton Travel, which is good, but I will be doing a lot of traveling myself over the next couple of months. So I would like for you to email me at info@Overton Travel, because I'm building my team. And then so if I'm not able to get back to you, then someone on my team can get back to you. And notice I have a new phone number as well. The 914 number, 898-5600, the business line, so that I can better serve you, particularly when I'm traveling. So take note of the new contact information. And so I just want to say thank you all for hanging out with me this afternoon, letting me do one of the things that I love doing the most is talking about travel. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the Q&A one more time to make sure that I got them all. I got all the Q&A, and let me check the chat, make sure I got all the questions in the chat. So I think I'm good. I've answered all your questions that you have presented here. Of course, if you have any more, you can always reach out to me via email. It's the best way to stay in touch with me. So go sign up for some trips, y'all. Go to overtontravel.com. Go put the deposit down. Go sign up for some trips, because you know what? Life is short. Tomorrow's not promised. So go ahead, see the world while it's open, while you can. So go travel, be blessed. Thank you very much. Take care.